little lids because these jelly gouaches come in little, uh, if I can get one out, little pots. And I actually love the fact that they come in a little pot that's removable, like this one. And each of these pots is 37 mils. I can't tilt it there for you, but it's, trust me on this, 37 mils of paint is quite a lot in it. And this is a set of 24, what they call himi or himi paints. And these are kind of a style of Chinese gouache called Jelly Gouache. And I have been seeing them on YouTube a lot. And I thought, oh, they look really exciting. And actually, they look good quality for the price because um, this comes, right, in a little case that it closes like a little food box, right? And when that snaps down, um, it's sort of semi-airtight, you know. Inside, I have all my little lids of the colours placed on it at the moment. But inside, it comes with a palette, right? And it comes with a set of three brushes, which look, honestly, I haven't opened them yet. I've saved that for your arrival, aren't I, Fang? So we'll do that now. So, you know, you might have heard of gouache before. I don't know if you have. Gouache is sometimes thought of as, sorry, I'm going to crinkle, sometimes thought of as sort of halfway in what it does, kind of halfway between watercolors and acrylics in terms of how it looks and the thickness and everything, right? So that's ordinary gouache, either student quality or artist gouache. Aren't they a cute colour? I'll talk about the colour of the set and everything because there are options in that. That would be, I don't know, maybe guys like pink, I don't know. But I chose a pink one. There's a blue option as well and a kind of an orangey yellow option, which I think would suit guys better. But the palette's white, which is good. You want to mix in a white palette. Um, so three brushes. The 24 paints, 2 pounds in weight of paints, and you know your little container there that they go into. That you can save these little pots and refill them when they eventually run out. For example, the white might run out first. You can buy pouches for this style of gouache for refilling them, right? But the the retailer that I bought online from doesn't have all the pouches. They only have white, and I did order an extra. It comes in a big plastic squeezy pouch for refilling those. So if you run out of one of these little pots, little plastic pots, you don't throw away the little plastic pot. You keep it because you might have reason to pull in and out those removable pots to clean the container and all this. But the container is rather gimmicky, isn't it, as well? And this retails. I'm in Ireland, so this would retail come in probably around under 25 quid, pounds, or euro in Europe. Which, if it's sort of okay, bearable quality, is fantastic quality because it's always a trade off between quality and price and amount you get and everything, right? So to compare it to uh, ordinary gouache, right? Because this is the bit that I had difficulty figuring out, and I've never used these guys before. That's why I'm doing this in a bonus live stream, so you can share the excitement and um, hear me tell you about all the mysteries about this sort of jelly gouache that I didn't know about. What the difference is between that and ordinary gouache. You see, ordinary gouache comes like this in a tube, And that tube there, I don't know exactly how much that tube set me back, but probably about €3 maybe. And it's got 0.47 fluid ounces in it, which is 14 mils, as opposed to the white in this is 37 mils. Each pot is 37 mils. So for under €25, I'm getting 24 different colors. And I was watching a lot of YouTube videos with creators painting with these, and the colors looked really vibrant. And I thought, no, I don't think they're just pumping up the color on the video. Uh, they're really vibrant colors, and they look like they're behaving well. So you see this thing here. This was me setting up the palette, because when the palette comes, and I will have a short video for this later, for anybody that decides, oh yeah, for that kind of money, I might give it a lash. I think the little packaging cute too. I mean, I know you'd be throwing that away probably, but it's cute. That's the other thing about these. They're supposed to be environmentally more friendly than acrylics, because acrylics have plastic in them, don't they? These, from everything I can find out, do not have plastic in them and are marketed as being environmentally a lot sounder. There are other advantages around that, which we'll talk about as well. But the purpose of this video is to show you the set and to do swatches with them. Now, what's the point of doing swatches? Because I've opened it and I can see what it looks like and everything. Well, we want to see how the paint behaves. Because if you've never used a particular paint before, you want to see what it moves around like and how it behaves. And I can tell already that some of the paints, these come, all paints, right, are made from a dry pigment, and they need a little binder of some sort to hold them together. So when this one came, it must have been lying around in the warehouse for a while, because the binder has separated slightly. So this is an implement that's very useful for just mixing that binder in a little teeny bit, and also for scraping the excess off the backs of those. Okay, so if you had a little palette around, that'd be handy. Now, when at the end of the session, the lid goes, the palette and then the lid all packs back down into this, you are going to get, the next time you open this up, some paint on the lid, on your, not the lid, on the palette, because your palette is stored in here, you see. And then the tray go like a sandwich. But that's okay, because the palette wipes down, and that it wipes down, the paint wipes down easily off it, because with this paint being jelly gouache, it's wet as if you've just squeezed it out of the tube, and it stays wet for a while. So why does it stay wet? Apparently it stays wet. I don't know that it's formulated differently around to ordinary gouache, but think of it as gouache that has extra water added, maybe would be useful, because with those deep pots, you might get a little skin on the surface after a while if you haven't used these paints for a while and you take them out again, but they reanimate. Now, that's one big difference from um, ordinary gouache. No, not from gouache paints, from acrylics, right? So apart from being environmentally friendly, apart from, don't know how the workers get treated in the factories or anything like that, they are imported from China. I don't know if there are sets made outside China, but the way they keep their prices down is probably why they're such cheap sets. But so apart from that, for that price, I'd forgotten what I was going to say, but for that price, I think they look like they're going to be nice, because just so far in this piece of paper, from the bits that I have wiped off, and I've used a few tissues and things so I'm not infecting the different colors, and that's actually a good way to pick up paint, is to have a clean palette knife to dip and scoop a little bit of paint up, and then put it onto your palette like that when you're using that palette. So you're not having to either clean brushes repeatedly, or you're not having to you're not having to use like 10 million brushes so that you're not, dropping one color into another. Now, it's not going to stay super clean. So let's get into it. And we're going to do our swatching with these colors. And that'll give us an opportunity to test the brushes as well. Now, I used not to swatch things. Then I started swatching. So why did I start? Why did I start swatching? Well, these my palettes. Just move this for a second. And I'd say you'd want to be a clean worker with these, only I'd say that of any sort of paint. So here are swatches I did last year of watercolors. And I was testing out new watercolors when I got them. So a swatch for me was testing out a color to see what it looks like on paper and what it looks like on a specific paper, more importantly. This is another swatch test for a color that you mix up yourself, which is called a bistre wash. And bistre ink, that used to be very popular for painters to work in. So that was me mixing up different ones and then testing them out. This is not part of the swatch. But that's basically what a swatch does. And again, in a little notebook, they're more my bistre mixes. And there are approaches to swatching that you can say, oh, I can't be bothered doing it. Or you can say, well, I'm going to settle down and listen to a bit of music and enjoy it. So that's what we're going to do. And if you're disappointed that I didn't open the box on front of you and, take it out of the bag and all that, I will upload later a video of me doing that and taking the little foil coverings off the pots. And the other thing that's relevant about a reason you might want to watch that video is, sorry, I'm trying to pick the sketch pad away when I have no space. A reason you might want to watch that video is that I have the palette arranged in a particular way, and it shows you how to take out the pots out of this plastic container that you get in, which is quite a pleasant plastic. It doesn't have that horrible hard plastic feel. It feels like somewhere between those baking molds, silicone baking molds. It feels like something between silicone and plastic, but pleasant. So I forgot what I was going to say again. This is what excitement will do to you, folks. I mean, look at the color. Some of the colors would knock your socks off, but sometimes things can look great in the pots, but not great when you actually go to fill in the color. And what I propose to do with the swatching that I'm doing, right? I'm going to do swatches and then I'm going to try and work up a painting from them. Not in today's live streams. I'm just swatching today. This took me about a half an hour to do to get the pots out, but the short video is worth watching because you can see the way of turning the thing upside down to get the pots out. It is relevant. All the names of the colors are written under this thing. So you won't be turning this upside down again to look at the names because they're not stuck in those. They just slip in and out. But I think that's very handy because I chose to arrange my colors differently to the layout that they have on the back of the packet, right? And I did this because I'm setting this up for a particular painting that I want to do that's a portrait. If you go over to my uploads part of the channel, that tab on the channel, I have just uploaded a video last night actually of me doing an oil portrait of the poet and famous writer about English eccentrics, and dare I say it, some would say eccentric herself, who died in 1964. But managed to get painted by a lot of people before she died, both for looking really interesting and being a very interesting poet as well. So on that video, you'll see me painting her, a portrait of her, and you'll kind of see what kind of colours I'm using in it and everything. And this palette is set up for portrait painting. Now, you'll know from my channel, if you've been here before, that I do a lot of landscape work as well. So I had to think about, well, do I want to set up the colors in such a position that it's going to be mostly about landscape, or is it going to be about portraiture, handiness for those? And I did notice that this is the difference between my thinking on it and some creators' thinking on it. I'm going to swatch in the sketchbook. There's Edith. This is the one I'm going to work up the portrait from. In Jelly Gouache, I have a portrait done in oils. I'm going to work in Jelly Gouache in the sketchbook probably for this one. So I'm going to swatch on the in-between page probably there. Because that's a very popular way to work with Jelly Gouache, and I'll tell you why in a minute if I remember. I remember to tell you. You sound so excited. See, I don't buy whole sets of things too often, you know. I buy bits and bobs. Sorry. I buy a tube here, a tube there. I might think very carefully before buying a watercolor set. And then I buy replacement sets for things as well. So to launch into a new medium like this, and buy a whole set of something, well, I launched myself into drawing with India ink a while back, but I didn't have to buy a whole set of anything for that. I just bought a calligraphy pen to draw with. I found that fantastic for drawing with. And I bought the ink, and that was it. But I didn't buy a set with a whole load of colours. Now, I could try coming up a little bit further. You'll see more of the table, but we'll try, will we? Hopefully the camera won't flip or nothing if I try that. I'm on a sort of a bend thing here. Now you can see. So I need a ruler for this. So the swatching will get us used to the brushes that are in the set and the colours and how they apply to the paper. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on each row, and there are 4 rows down. So I'm not going to be too fussy about that. We'll say this is the first row, okay? I am going to 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm gonna say your swatches. Make your swatches if you're swatching not too tiny, right? Because you wanna be able to see what you've got. And we're going to use the palette. The other thing I'm going to say is if you want to source somewhere to replace the colors, you're not sure where they're going to be replacing the colors or not. We don't know if we're going to like this set, right? I might yet hate it. I still think it won't be a waste of money though, because sorry, I'm looking for water over here. I do possess water there. Yeah, even if the colors I didn't like them, and everybody's wrong on YouTube raving about them and everything, and I don't like them as much as ordinary acrylics. I love the case. I love the case, so I would be able to use the case even with ordinary acrylics as palette and travel case and everything as well. Now, £2, that is too heavy for me for traveling personally because I bring everything in a backpack with me. So I probably wouldn't use that for traveling. So I probably wouldn't in the field do jelly gouaches, but I have a plan to do some painting in my back garden. That that'd be perfect for it because it's in a little case that I can just bring out to the back garden all in one go, and my palette is there now. So I like that. Okay, so I'm going to try out the round brush that they have in it, which is very pretty, and wooden, which I like. So I'm going to go in the order that my palette is set up in. This palette is wipeable. Now, plastic isn't as nice to work with as, porcelain or delf, any kind of delf. But I like this palette because it's got spaces in the side for, laying down paint and nice big mixing spaces in the middle. So I like that. All right, so making sure that my palette knife is clean, it's clean enough. I'm going to get some green. The other bit of extra equipment you might want with this, I don't want to be too mean with this either. It's so cheap. I don't have to worry about how much or how little I'm using. Now, I just barely dipped that brush in water. I'm trying to get it to the consistency of acrylic paint for myself. And the reason plastic palette isn't as nice as a porcelain palette or china palette is it pulls sometimes a bit on the plastic and you can't quite see what you have. The other thing you might want to do is have a little practice sheet of paper on the side just to test the consistency of it before you start. That would be helpful. And something that I saw people doing that I never tried before myself, but I think is a good idea, is putting some sort of little mark in the middle. I'm just putting a spot in the middle of mine with a marker. Hopefully it's a permanent marker. Yeah, it is, I think. So that you can see whether the colors are really see-through color or not. And to me, this feels like acrylic. But with gouaches, you can also use them like a wash. So watch this if I add more water into that. So this swatching process is how we're getting used to our materials, yeah? So you see the way that's acting like watercolor now. Now it's not going to have the same luminosity or behavior probably as watercolor. I don't know. But it still waters down rather nicely. But we want it reasonably thick. And I think it's behaving exactly like acrylic as far as I'm concerned. And I like the brush. This would be a synthetic brush. So for a green, that's quite an opaque green. Now I wrote down the names of the colours. So you have a choice with the colours. You keep the lids, or I think that's that one probably. Or you write it down. And I have these colours written down somewhere, but it's on the actual lid as well in very fine little writing here. So that green is a grass green. So some of the colours I find this between, I'm just going to clean this brush off and try another swatch. Some of the colours, we'll try a different brush, will we, just to be. So this is the other brush they gave us, a square brush. Now watch out for the brushes because I don't know what you can do about it, but apparently some people ordering them online are not getting the correct brushes with the set. So I don't know. I mean, I presume that's just whatever reseller it is. There's some sort of issue there with the reseller. But I noticed some of the brushes that were shipping out with things weren't good ones, which was, a little bit disappointing, really. Working across the rows, I'm on the top row of the way I have. You don't have to set your palette out like this. If you're setting it out for Landscape stuff, you might decide to have the landscape things nearest to you. I've decided to have the pencil casey bit at the top when I'm doing portraits, and then you see if I turn it around the other way, the landscapey colours, all the greens and blues, are nearer me. But the black and white are far away. And the black and the white I have set up beside each other as well. Oh, hiya, Rachel. I'm having such a day because I got this new paint set, and I very rarely buy new paints. And this is a medium I have never tried before, Jelly Gouache. Did you ever try Jelly Gouache? Because Ray Clay has a YouTube channel. He's a YouTuber, and he's a painter as well. And I don't know if it would be fair to say, Ray Clay, that you specialise um, in murals, but he's a very talented mural painter. So has probably tried out loads of different paint medium. No, you haven't tried it. Okay. So this might be of interest to you. This set came in at, for me, with euros. This set, which included the brushes and the palette and 24 pots of paint, came in at under €25. And these are wildly popular paints online. And part of the reason for their popularity is not just their price, I would argue, but I don't know if you've heard of this lot, but do you know what studio? I would pronounce it Ghibli, but I'm not sure how it should be pronounced. But you know, the people that made Howl's Castle, and one that I want to see, which I haven't seen yet, called um, My Neighbor Tortoro. Totoro, I think it is. Um, by I think he's a Japanese guy, but they're animations, you know, films, but animations. I love animated movies, but these are done like old-fashioned cartoons, kind of. But uh, the way they did the backgrounds for them, uh, yeah, you'd be fascinated with this as well, Rachel. I'm just looking at your last comment there about different artists being fascinated with other art. This fascinated me, this Ghibli studio thing, because um, I came across it first when I was trying to do Blender tutorials and learning Blender, which is a computer program, which is 3D modeling program, right? And I had this idea that Blender would be terrific for, I like that brush as well. I don't know how long the brush will last, but I like it. So Blender had this tutorial about doing Ghibli style backgrounds, right? So the kinds of backgrounds that they have in those films. And I'd never heard of those films before. Although it turned out I had seen one, there's a famous one called Spirited Away, which I think a lot of people have seen. Now, so I heard the term Ghibli from that, you see. So we're working across my top row, and it looks a bit odd now because this looks like I've put in a black here. So it looks like I have two blacks in the palette. I don't. This is a blue, Prussian blue. I have the greens and yellows grouped together over here for landscape purposes, but also because I want that yellow and green near my portrait colors down the bottom row, you see. I had a bit of trouble incorporating the blue. I didn't want this pale blue, which I would use for portraits all the way down here. I put a lavender kind of purpley pale mauve color down there instead. Um, I generally speaking wanted to group the same kinds of colors together, but I also wanted to have the kinds of colors I work with and I know I work with grouped together, you know, so all the portrait colors together, all the landscapey things together. So that was thinking behind that. So anyway, to talk about get back to Ghibli stuff, films. Ooh, this is actually fun doing this bit. Look, and you see, we can take out nice big pieces for ourselves because it's a cheap set. We don't mind. We can lash through this if we want. We don't mind at all. And I'm going to put down my uh, permanent mark in the middle as well, just to see how transparent this is. And I think that's a good trick. I've never used that before in swatching. So that was something I learned from people. Now there's the Prussian blue is really, really dark. You would not see that that's blue at all until you mix it in with white. So I'm going to just prove to you that it is a blue. You see, we can come along afterwards and write the words in for the names of the colours in case we ever want to try to replace them. And there are some places online you can get these. That there's fantastic color coverage in this color here, I have to say. Let's mix in some white. But I'll mix a little bit of white here in with that blue. But you might have to shop around a bit to be able to get replacement pouches for filling up those again. So just be warned of that. Now, I don't mind my blue getting slightly contaminated because I just want to prove to you. Now, that is actually a very dull color for Prussian blue. It's a fairly, I won't swatch with that color. Oh, well, I might actually. I might do a little swatch underneath because I'm a tonal painter, so I tend to put white things in with things, and I can write on those afterwards and explain what they are. The other way to go with swatching is that you can do one side of the thing, just thick paint with very little water in it, just really your brush just barely wet, wiped down, um, and a lot more water on the other side to see what the color looks like more transparent as well. So yeah, really, I was just saying that I like a project, you know me. So what I want to do is do a portrait from this, and at the beginning of this live stream, and indeed on the upload that I have, the last video I uploaded yesterday to the uploads part tab of the channel, um, you'll see a small image from the sketchbook, the previous page in the sketchbook. And I'm going to do that as my first painting in using this Jelly Gouache. So I'm also going to, and I've been planning this for a little while because I've been wanting to take the dive into buying these sort of paints. And I did come across in relation to the Studio Ghibli people, I did come across some free resources that they had for artists to use that I was so excited about. And I thought, okay, great, we'll do a live stream on that then, using those resources. And I found this fabulous resource um, from the movies, the movie backgrounds specifically, right? Not the characters. It's the backgrounds I'm obsessed with because I like doing landscape, right? And they feature a lot of landscape in their movies. But from the guy that did Spirited Away, whose name I'm always forgetting, something beginning with a K, I think. That guy, he had artists revert back to an old-fashioned way of doing backgrounds in animation, hand painting them, and he hired studio artists, and the backgrounds have a really hand painted look that is just so attractive and beautiful and painterly, right? So this is why uh, I want to use these resources. They have 50 images that they allow artists to use. You can't sell them. They're still copyright images, but they very kindly said, look, if you're an artist and you want to learn from these images, we don't have a problem with you copying the images or putting them on my community tab or something like that. I'm allowed to do that if you say where I got them from and everything. And uh, I found a beautiful one of clouds that we can work from on a live stream, um, because we like doing clouds. Well, I like doing clouds, and that was quite popular. The one I did about clouds, even though I made a slight mess of clouds actually in that one, because things don't always go to plan. Um, And then I did a slightly better short thing on clouds on my shorts tab. And those clouds turned out a bit better. But I want to go more into clouds with these Jelly Gouache paints. But you can bring your acrylics. You can also work in watercolors. You can work in any color medium you want for that live stream. Now, it's not next week, it's the week after, because this Friday's live stream is still on portraiture, and we're doing a portrait of David Hockney, or if you prefer to do somebody else, that's fine. Find yourself somebody online that you want to do portrait of, and we're going to be working in color. And it's drawing, so it's any sort of a drawing medium as opposed to painting medium. But of course, you could paint if you want to, totally up to you, man. So, so far in the review, I'm loving these colors because the first color is drying. It's so vibrant. Look at it. Is that not a thing of beauty? And look at the blue. That's a cobalt or an ultramarine, and it's just bing, lashing out, lashing off the page. So, yeah. So the reason that I'm using that as a resource, because I could go out and take pictures of clouds or do what I usually do, go into the field and draw clouds, is because it's a particularly colourful, nice image of clouds. It's the colours I'm interested in the image, more so than the actual drawing of it. So that live stream is going to be about colour and painting. And you can see why I'm doing one about colour. I mean, how could you not get a set of paints like that and not want to run riot with colour? So while we won't be using all the colours in them, the image that I have for us to work from has a surprising range of colours considering it's clouds. You expect clouds to be sort of maybe pink, a bit blue, but there's a lot of yellows and browns and reds and everything in these clouds as well. And it's that I'm interested in. It's that and approaching it in a very painterly way. I've noticed, and there's nothing wrong with this at all, but a lot of people who do Ghibli style painting on YouTube with these colors, these Jelly Gouache, do copies from particular Ghibli movies, copies of stills, right? And possibly because they've kindly allowed artists to do this, but I don't really want to copy this thing. I want to use it as inspiration for color, for getting at a more painterly effect. But um, when you know that that these are from Ghibli pictures, films, which people might not be aware of, then when you're watching YouTubers doing the paintings, um, like a lot of them know what they're talking about because they go, "Oh, this is a Howl's Castle thing," and everybody knows, okay, that's from that particular movie, and she or he has access to that picture, right? Quite often it's women doing it because they're very cute. A lot of them have very cute little friends and everything in the films, and a lot of them are to do with kind of screen cute things. And I'm a girl, I like cute things. But the landscapes, ooh, they would appeal to fellas as well, you see, um, because you can do quite rugged landscapes, um, and you've got a fantastic range of colours here to do with it. But the Ghibli approach is a little bit different from my approach. My approach is not to do it like somebody that's colouring in cells in a movie, basically, in an animated movie, because that's what they're doing, you see. They draw little outlines of all the different areas and then they fill in the colours. That's how traditionally it's done in those sort of movies. I'm not going in with that attitude. I'm going in the same way that I would paint a picture, which is You've seen it in my uploads how I paint a picture. The last one from yesterday is painting the picture from start to finish. It's, time lapsey thing and has bits left out and everything, but it was a picture painted over the course of a day, which is, not very long for me. I might be tempted to go back in and mess with that picture now, to be honest with you, but it's not the colouring in all the different outlines and everything approach at all. It's coming at it from a slightly different angle. So for me, that resource can be used differently from copying the thing, right? And I can work with the colour on that, not worry too much about shape, cloud, and everything, and then learn a lot from it that can be incorporated into a um, other paintings, other landscapes. I've learned from the colour. And because the colour is something somebody's painted already, they've sort of amped up the colour, really exaggerated it. Um, and I'm always complaining, this has a purpley cast on it, this colour. So although I think it's billed as a blue, this colour, it's a purpley blue. Some of them, like the ultramarines, are more purpley blue. Can you see that far across? Yeah. We finished our top. This is getting a great review so far. Absolutely great coverage. Very easy paint to work with. Fantastic price. And I like the brushes and I like the palette. I like the size, the palette and everything. Portability is great for just as far as the back garden. I wouldn't like to go any further with them because of the weight and the fact that they're um, spillage and things like that. That would be the inside of your case would be destroyed if you had that in a backpack, you see. But in a car or something, you had a car and you went out somewhere, yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't want to be climbing up mountains or after getting out of the car. So we have our top row swatched out. Now, the fun thing about that palette and another advantage of this is that because those pots, those 37 ml filled pots come out, um, you can reorganize your palette anytime you want. So if you watch the short later on, if you're thinking about getting one of these and you want to know how to handle it when it arrives and everything, watch the short later on today, um, because it'll tell you how to do all that, how to tip it upside down. Then I came along and put out all the pots on upside down on my palette until I decided what was what. Then I came along with my palette life and made sure I scraped every little bit of paint off the thing that I could. Um, then I swatched. Vibrant, yeah, they're so vibrant, aren't they? I mean, you can see what my excitement was about now, can't you? I am a bit excited, but this is really worth getting. I could get excited about this in a way that I might not be able to get excited about, I don't know, a new dress or something like that. This is something I can use, you see, I can make good use of. And, well, I can't really say how long this set will last me, because I could lash through one of the colours in like a week or something. The white could be gone in a week, but I did take the precaution of they dry fast. They dry at the same rate as acrylics. Um, I did take the precaution of ordering the pouch of white, and I forget how much was in the white, how many mils. It might have been 100 or 150. I'm not entirely sure which, to be honest with you. So I think it's worth doing the swatching to get used to the paints. You don't have to. You can just launch yourself in and get started. But I would recommend using the oh, I can't wait to get down to that orange there. Some of the colours, you see, your eyes are having a party when you're looking at colours like that. So whether you're painting with them or just looking at them, your eyes are going, wow, what a treat. I mean, your eyes need rest and relaxation somehow sometimes. But so I did say that this live stream would be about the cons as well as the pros, didn't I? So what are the cons of buying a set like this, right? Why? If they're so great. Well, the only thing I was thinking about, right, was going to change that water soon as well. Your brushes won't stay white because they're that's good because it means that the paint have a very high pigment level in them. So they stain very well, which is a sign of a really good paint, you know. So just incredible for the price, just incredible. So when you're washing out these brushes afterwards, not hot water, but just lukewarm water, a little bit of soap in your hand, and then around in circles either direction, and run it under uh, warmish or cool water. They're not great brushes. Like you can see them kind of, they're not going to hold their shape perfectly forever, but you've already got brushes in your collection. So you don't mind if they don't last forever. If you got a few goes out of those brushes, you're happy. It's the paints and the box that you like. So the cons, yeah, the cons of this. What I was thinking might be a con, right? And hear me out on this because this sounds like I'm being awfully fussy about it. Look at the coverage of those. It's fantastic. The black mark is disappearing on most of them so far. Cons, colors. The colors, some of the colors are fugitive colors, okay? That means that their color light fastness isn't as good as, say, acrylics, generally speaking, or even possibly some other gouaches, but more more to the point would be acrylics, because they're all natural and they just don't have as many chemically bits in them. So you have to allow for that fact. And I forget what channel it was. I did see some girl testing them by doing a swatch of the colours and then sticking that swatch, sellotaping it to a window for a few months, and then coming back to see what colours had faded. And she pointed out, and so we're on the next row down, and this has got greens, reds, and one purple sitting around in the middle of it. I don't know how the one purple ended up there, but it's beside a pink, so that makes sense. You see, it makes sense to me. I don't know if it makes. Oh, I love this green. Ooh, I'm excited about looking at greens because all my landscape greens, you see, and I don't have that many in acrylic. I did say I didn't have that many acrylic paints. And I can feel really good about using these because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be wasting all that paint. All that paint can be reanimated with a bit of water the next time I paint. So that palette mightn't go back in the case at all. I mightn't keep that in the case when I still have paint left over. I might keep it out. And I don't mind that it looks dry because I have a little thing, and I'll show you. This is also worth getting if you were thinking about these paints. It's a little spritzy thing for plants because I had an air plant. So you can spritz across the top of them, even the whole set. If you got any sort of cracking around anything on the top, where you have a layer where inevitably it'll start going dry. Underneath doesn't go dry for ages apparently, just the top. But a little spritz of water um it helps to keep it moist. And then when the lid goes back on the box, you've sealed in some of the moisture, so it won't go completely hard. And I did wonder that. How do they stop them from going hard? Is there more water? So this is a more transparent. This is kind of it's not called Viridian in their set, but it's kind of a Viridian green. And it's uh, kind of semi-transparent. But you know what? It is in my acrylics as well. So no difference there. You see the way you can see the black spot through it. I like that trick of using the spot. I learned that from other YouTubers. You've got to love YouTubers, haven't you? Because we all have different skills and things, you see. Ray Clay too there. Um, you can see his skills over on his channel. If you wanted to stick in a link, it might actually work. Ray Clay, you're very welcome to. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't think you were a good artist. Murals are a whole different ball game because you got to I've only ever done one big mural myself for a company. Uh, but it's challenging. And I was supposed to be doing it with somebody else, and the other person was, oh, he was working on opening a nightclub or something, and he went off. He was very, very busy doing that. I had this big, long, huge mural to do in a hoarding myself. um, and it was a bit intimidating, but I did do it. I did enjoy it. I just did it with house paint. You can use anything to paint. I'm mixing this paint a little bit. That's what the palette knife is doing. I'm mixing it because the binder isn't completely. So I'll leave these out on the palette, you see, and I'll mess around with these later. I don't know, paint a few trees or something later, you see. How much time have we got? I'm not going to get the whole swatch done before the end of the live stream. I don't like to let them run longer than about an hour. Oops, I have contaminated this color with my brush. I'm going to have to get a new brush. This is the swatch, so I have to be slightly. That's a clean brush, so that can go in. Okay. Here we go. So this is the lemon yellow. I can tell by the look of it. We have two yellows in the set. You can tell it's. Oh, I never put in mine. You can tell it's inspired by those Ghibli films because it's got all the landscape colors, hasn't it? And you got loads of greens and yellows. You've got lovely. There's another green going to be on the row below this as well. Greens and yellows, you choose them quite a lot, and you have the always useful yellow ochre, which they have called another color ochre, which is daft. They have what I would call a burnt sienna, naming it ochre. So if you were buying gouache from a different maker, then you're thinking, oh, that's what yellow ochre looks like. No, it doesn't. And there isn't really kind of a standard naming convention across different painting media. This is a very transparent color, a very transparent yellow, but some of the yellows tend to be. I'm trying to think of lemon yellow is very transparent. I know it is in oil paint. I think it is as well in acrylic. So it's just the nature of lemon yellow to be like that. Does bear, does baby, does ghibli. So yeah, I'm very excited about them. And look at there's my first painting. Abstract. But you can see the way it sits nicely, good coverage, and one color sits nicely on top of another color. That was me just removing color from the palette knife. But that's another way of doing a swatch. If you want to do it that way, do an abstract painting. Just use either brush or your palette knife. Palette knife for removing the paint. And I'm being a bit wasteful actually using tissues for this. I could have got a cleaning cloth or something, but sure, I've started. So yeah, I'm loving it. And I've been on over an hour. Look, we'll do another row or so. I'd like to get some yellows and reds down. I might work down some of the rows and put in some of the main colors, not do the whole lot, because I don't think people are going to want to watch like 3 hours of this, which, I want to take my time doing the swatches. But these are their brushes as well. So the brushes are highly successful. Filbert, a flash and a round, very nice. And the filbert's an 8, the flash is a 6, and the round they gave me is a 4. They have the numbers on them. So cute, cute, cute. So I'm definitely gonna go for the red because we'll end on the punchy colors. But I thought I'm relieved they all worked out as well. But you see, for that price, actually, wouldn't have been the end of the world if they hadn't. Even if they had been really terrible quality, the box with the little palette and brushes. Well, the brushes might have been, you can't really tell by the look of brushes always whether they're going to be any good. But the box storage case and the palette, whoops, excuse me, would have been, maybe about, I would say, personally, about a tenner's worth, because really you can buy boxes like that are for food storage and things like that. Might be hard to get one that's not too deep, but it's still kind of, half the price nearly would be just the worth of the box. So I wouldn't have lost that much money out of it. This is beautiful cadmium red. Look. Oh, my phone is ringing. I have to just ignore it. I don't know, can you hear it or not? No idea. No idea. Sorry. Did you? I have this horror of the phone ringing during a live stream because um, I'm always afraid the live stream will get cut off and, people's ears suffering as well. So I'm glad I found out that A, your live stream doesn't get cut off, and B, I don't know what B is. Ooh, look at this color. So we'll just ignore them. It did say who they were, but they're not anybody that I remember ever talking to. I don't think Anton's on fire anyway. My studio's not on fire. That's all I care about. Oh, yeah. Look at the intensity of that color. Heavy man. So, cons. I never said what the second cons about it. And so, being super enthusiastic, haven't I, about it? But one of the things that has a tiny little hair coming off it. Oh no, it's actually stuck on. I'd have to cut that. So there's an imperfection. Oh my god, oh my god. For under 25 quid, an imperfection found. I wouldn't be too upset. I'm sorry, I'm looking for a scissors. Yeah, what I was going to say about the colours, right? They have a lot of colours in this that are pre-mixed, non kind of standard primary colours. Yeah, rightly I heard the phone ring. Clearly. He was there laughing. You see, I don't know how to turn that off. I could put it on silent, I suppose, before I go on. It'll still ring, but I don't use my phone often enough. I go, I'll get away with it. I very rarely kind of an incoming phone call. And if I do, it's always somebody wanting something that I don't want to do. And I was sort of like, oh no, thanks. I don't think it's anybody kind of trying to sell me on it. It was from a school. So, unless somebody's disguised their number. But then if it's got a name attached to it, I suppose they can create a name as well. I don't know. This is the problem when you don't answer a phone. You then go, oh my God, I wonder who that was. Oh my God. But the fact they attached a name to it, and it was a name I didn't think I'd ever spoken to before. I don't really care. Okay, so going along. So that on the live stream looks a bit more orange than it actually is, to be honest with you. But it is a very vibrant cadmium red. That is gorgeous. I'm going to, talking of vibrant, I'm going to do an orange now. I'm not going to stay on too much longer, but I do want to show you skin colors and some more tonal colors. So I'm just making sure that binder is mixed in before I launch myself into that. Oh, I put these in the wrong place. That was a bit stupid. Oh, my swatch has gone wrong already. Stupid me. But then again, you see, this is a movable feast, this palette. The only reason I wanted to swatch in the same position as the pots are in on my palette is so that I would recognize the names in case the paint dries a different color. Like if this looks different on the piece of paper than it does over here, I will have a problem identifying that color. But you know, I'm used to color, so I don't think I would have a problem with that. But I'm trying to kind of, you know, tell you about it in case you're saying, well, I don't see the logic behind it. Okay, so we'll stick on a couple of bright colors, then we'll go down and we'll do a, since I've gone out of order and everything already. Oh, look at it. You know what I'll be doing for the rest of the afternoon. Oh, yeah. So you got it. I seem to have a tiny bit of the dark color cut up in that. You see, my swatching isn't as perfect as you'll go over and you'll see other YouTubers and you'll go, God, compared to Donna, their swatching is pristine. So other things that disadvantages, because they give you a nice range of colors, and you can get a bigger set than this with 48 colors in it. I didn't get it because I didn't want it to take up too much space on my tabletop studio. I wanted this for a nice painting set for when I'm working in a sketchbook inside, doing paintings in a sketchbook. And a disadvantage for a beginner could be that it discourages you from mixing the colors yourself a bit because it gives you so many colors in the set that there aren't that many colors that you know you wouldn't have there. Uh, This one is an interesting one. This is the one they're calling an ochre. Let me see this. I don't know if you guys think this is an ochre or not. I would not call this an ochre. So I mean the palette doesn't have room down here for everything, but you're also wanting it to be compact. So if you don't want to take the whole tabletop, I don't have that kind of space. So another pro for somebody in a small place, yeah. Uh, doesn't take up much space and easily packed away. We like that. So that is not a yellow ochre, right? They're calling it ochre. This is a burnt sienna. So don't worry if you get confused by their naming conventions. That's okay to be confused. I'm always getting this different paints and even the same color within different brands. I want to show you a few skin colors before I go. I know I've been on ages. And I'm putting them in the wrong place again because, as I say, if I was doing a portrait one day, I'd have all these arranged down here. If I'm doing a landscape another day, I'm going to either tilt this palette of colors around to access the greens easier and tilt it again for the blues, or I'm going to lay out the colors in a different way. My paper isn't up to this. Look at it, it's poking through because the spine is a bit odd. But we'll go into our. I'm definitely going to get out of this habit of using tissues to clean my brushes. See, the water's getting a bit dirty as well. I'm too lazy to actually go and fix that. I have loads of bits of old clothes and everything instead. Save me creating a lot of waste with the tissues. So there's your white. Now look, we know what white is going to be like, so we're not going to bother with that. But I think next I'll show you what a yellow ochre really looks like. And look, if you've been painting before, you should know what a yellow ochre looks like. Because how anybody does this colour, I do not know. So we'll have a yellow ochre. And that is a yellow ochre. But they don't call it yellow ochre. What is it called? I have all the names of the colours down here. There's the names, look. They're don't want to show you what I thought their ochre looked like. Earth yellow they're called. So yellow ochre, earth yellow. So yeah, you could get ordinary acrylics if you run out of a color and try and sort of match that color if you're used to acrylics. I don't think you can see down there further. How can I push up there to see the last bit? But you might be able to get the pouches of these if you look around enough online. You might have to go to the direct factory where they're made to get it. They do ship, but I don't know if they ship to Europe. I can't remember. Super. So we'll finish with the nice skin tone and one of the pinks. Pinks we'll finish with for the girls because the girls love Ghibli pink. It's the squee, isn't it? The squeeness. But I think that the lads should have a look at these paints as well because definitely the Ghibli films, guys are into those films as well. Some of the themes and everything in the films, and they like that kind of anime style characters. I wouldn't be a huge anime fan myself. Uh, some of it is just I don't like the drawings of it. It's really the landscape I like personally. That's the bit that really appeals to me. Although the Tortoro film, I like the way the animal is depicted in that, and I think I'd like that film. So this is a very pinky flesh tone, but you see, for somebody who's not able to mix up skin color themselves or not confident or anything, it's great. But again, that could put you off mixing your own colors. And I wouldn't like to think that somebody just starting to paint, who Rayclay isn't, but like if you were somebody who's just starting to paint, maybe as well as getting a set like this, think of learning about color mixing with your basic colors. So you might have, let's say, a little set of acrylics as well in just a few basic colors and learn from somebody or other. I might do it on my channel sometime, I haven't yet, about basic color mixing principles and the basic palette, basic colors you need on your palette. But this one, fabulous, I have to say, fabulous range of colors and everything. And it's for me, those extra colors, they don't go astray because what happens is it saves me a lot of time mixing color. It's just much faster to get color down on the canvas. Like I might be using an alizarin crimson to get that color with the white and a little bit of cerulean blue, and then I might say, oh, I might need to warm it up and get a little bit again. All this back and forth for mixing. That you don't have to do as much with this if the color is already there. So that's the advantage, isn't it? But in terms of learning more about mixing color, maybe not such a super advantage from that point of view. Let's do our pink over here. It's not grouped in the right place, but purpley, mauvey pink, that is. Well, it's more mauve really than anything, which is a form of purple. So isn't that super, folks? Highly recommend it for beginners or professionals. But the one thing I would say to you about it is that the colours aren't super stable. In terms of if you left those out just pinned to a wall or something in the sunlight, some of the colours would fade, just like a watercolour would, you know. Um, in Dublin, they show Turner's watercolours every year in January because the lighting isn't too strong. And they also show them in a room that's dimly lit and just little spotlights on them and things, not too strong. You know? I prefer them when I'm showing them in daylight. I don't like the way they show them now, to be honest. But um, you have to be aware of that with all kinds of paints anyway, and you can do your little color experiment with them to check um over time, over a few months. If you do a swatch, hang it up in a window, paste it to a window for sellotape it to a window for a couple of months. So extra materials you'd have to buy with it. Well, a palette knife would be useful, wouldn't it? A palette knife would be very useful for scooping the paint out, and a sketchbook basically. And they're okay on thin-ish paper. Uh, so you could use thicker grade paper if you prefer. There's some buckling, so you know, some people skip a page in their sketch pad if they're going to do. The other thing you might like is stuff called washi tape, which Ray might have used actually. This is one for painters that are, you know, say doing walls or want to paint lines on walls or anything. It's a paper tape with a little bit of gum on it, but it'll come off. It's a bit like masking tape. It'll come off paper. So that's handy because you can use it as borders in sketchbooks if you want to do little paintings in your sketchbook. You know, it's just a way of keeping them together. You can do them on separate pieces of paper or whatever. So the way I would, I'm not really putting it away yet, but you know, the way I would store it is I would store it the same way up, the lid going back on the same way up all the time, and you click it into place, basically. And it closes like that. There are a couple of brands. If you're a guy that doesn't like the female-y looking pinkies and pale turquoisey blues, there's a very nice black set uh, box in a brand called Artsy, and they seem to be very good quality as well. So you might want to check out the Artsy brand if you don't like that or blue. Or the yellow color is, I think the yellow color might be something along the lines of that or a buttery yellow, which, you know, I don't know, do guys like that? I don't know. I don't know what guys do. But, you know, who couldn't like some of these colors? They're fab. So, there you go. You see, yeah, your murals were done in latex. Found latex paint. You see, I don't have a good knowledge of I don't know if latex, if you get latex in house paint, because there's some kind of PVA or something in house paint, so I'm not sure if it's those kind of paints or not. So you see, this palette, is staying out because I'm going to be working a bit more, but I'm going to wait till I have those colours down a bit more before I put that away. And then that'll wipe clean or run it under the tap or whatever, you know. But they can be reanimated when dry. So I'm not going to waste anything. So there's so much less waste than with acrylic. And I know I'm not putting a big load of plastic into the environment. So I had to balance that up with the idea of, oh, but it's made in China and I don't know how the workers in the factory are treated and whether the conditions are good. I just couldn't find out, you know. And I won't be buying a set like every 2 weeks. I don't know how long this set will last me. I imagine it'll last quite a while. Definitely the white won't, because I'm a tonal painter. So if you want to try out these paints or you have some, or you want to just do some painting that's Ghibli inspired painting, it's not Ghibli style painting, Ghibli inspired painting with me, that's going to be on the live stream. Not this Friday, because we're doing portrait painting this Friday, so you can still bring your paints along for that and have fun, and I'll provide reference materials if you don't have reference materials. But the week after, the Friday after that, we will do clouds, painting clouds, and painting clouds. It's lovely. I love doing painting clouds. And I have the reference photo thanks to Ghibli Studios, you see. So I have a reference photo for that as well. So I never put my brushes away because I'm going to keep working now. Okay, and thank you for joining me in my unboxing of my new paints. I love them. I love them. Very happy, very happy. So get back to work, open it up and get back to work. And thanks for dropping by. And I hope you enjoyed the live stream and maybe learned something or got curious about paints, or, you know, if you've any comments or anything, drop them in below. And I'll see you on Friday on a live stream. And check out the new video about the portrait painting that I did in oils. That one is, if that's over on the main video tab. And thank you, Ray Clay. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed the bit of company. Bye.